Hey everybody, I was doing some servicing on my bike, so I thought I'd kind of give you an update on the reservoir, the coolant reservoir that I had made and how it's doing. So those of you seen any of my other videos, or if you're seeing this from the first time, I actually detailed this in a previous video on a different bike. So go check that out if you want to see the details. I'm not going to re-go over all that stuff now. But to kind of show that it does still work. So I had that 2007 YZ-85. It was a great bike, fun bike, a fast little bike. But of course I'm 5'10", and my age, my knees aren't helping me any. So I came across this gem. It's a 2002 CR-125R Pro Circuit Edition. And it's a little weathered and stuff, but this thing is an absolute time capsule. You're not going to really be able to see it in this lighting, but this is the original front tire, which is almost hard to believe, but you look at the date code, it's an 02 bike, and that tire is from 2002. So this thing was barely ridden, parked somewhere in a garage, and just sat. And it has a brand new top end in it. It runs and rides like an absolute brand new bike. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to pick this bad boy up. fun bike. So what I did before selling the YZ, remember, look at the other video, I made this coolant reservoir for it to help keep it cool, keep the radiator topped off. And someone going to sell that on with the bike, explain all that, so took it off and figured out a way to mount it on this CR. It was a little trickier on this one, especially since this one has dual radiators. I didn't have the room like I had in the YZ-85. This is a much bigger frame, but it's a bigger engine, so the clearances are not friendly for something like this. So I did end up kind of doing a quick attach here on this upper pipe on the right radiator. Come on, focus, there we go. And it, not the best, but this really isn't taking much load, so I'm not too worried about it, and this isn't super tight, it's just kind of holding it in place. Really what's holding the weight, so I did make this bracket that attaches to the fairing. The fairing screw comes through here and holds it down. So that's really, the bulk of what's taking the load. But just like the other, so instead of this tube coming off the radiator just dumping the ground, it feeds down into the bottom of the reservoir, and then the top of the reservoir just drops to the ground. There's a breather, and for whatever reason this overflows, it will overflow to the ground, but generally I haven't really seen it do that. Even jumping and everything, the coolant and the water mix pretty much stays in the reservoir. And I just topped it off. Actually, it had some evaporation as this sat pretty much all summer here in the garage. It's been really hot, and I enjoy riding, but I don't enjoy riding in 100-degree heat with 100% humidity. That's just not fun. My daughter's not interested in riding her bike in those conditions either. So it did sit and it evaporated, and a little bit of leakage I found on the bottom of the tube, but very little. I mean, that's this next down to a smaller size, and my other video explains why. I won't go over all that again here. This has a little glue in it to glue the two sizes together, and then I made a, maybe hard to see, and sorry about the lighting, I'm kind of tucked away in a corner of my garage. It's kind of hard to get good views and good lighting. But this is just a safety wire, double wrapped and twisted and folded over to create a small clamp. I find that to be the best way to clamp small hoses. You try and use these itty bitty little hose clamps, they just don't hold. This holds, and it's easy to cut off and re-twist one on if you have to. So anyway, this as far as the size of the reservoir, I was guessing at the 85s at how big it would need to be, and it seemed to work fine, and maybe even slightly oversized. And I was worried about if I put on the 125, it was just going to keep blowing out and emptying and blowing out and emptying, and it's just meaning it just wasn't big enough. But so far it hasn't. It's maintained level pretty good. I mean, after running, of course, it'll be up pretty close to the top. Then it cools down, it'll come down and settle out. But so far it's held pretty good. Stayed mostly, right around the middle where it should be. So this volume seems to be enough. I mean, you can see the diameter of the tubing. It's only about 1.5 inches and maybe 4 inches long. And that seems to be plenty of reservoir for a 125. Now, if you're going to anything bigger than this, if you want to try and do something like this on your bike, 2-stroke or 4-stroke, it doesn't really matter. It's mostly going to be about engine displacement and not the style of the engine. But you probably, if you're going to do this on anything bigger than 125, you'd probably want to figure out a way to make this bigger. Yeah, like definitely 250, even a 500. If you happen to have a Widowmaker, more power to you, because I've ridden one of those things, and yeah, that was the first and last. Yeah, anything else, you're probably going to want something bigger. Anyway, that's about it. A fairly short video. Just want to show you that, yeah, this works like a champ. So far, it's worked on 2 bikes I've put it on. Easy to service, and again, all the gory details will be in the other video on my channel on the YZ-85. So you all keep on wrenching and have fun.